What's up guys, this is Dino here and today I'll be beginning a brand new story. As you saw in the community tab, this is what if Ash was born in Ultra Space. This was suggested by someone in the comments. I don't remember your name, but you did, and thanks for suggesting. And this has also been suggested to other what ifers, and Pickledale actually helped me a lot in preparing this story, so shout out to him. And as per usual, the plot will be about 50-50 of a perfect blend of fan fiction, and I'll be going off on the lore that the game has provided, although it's a bit limited, but I will try to make it as true to the material as possible. And anyone else who was preparing to make this story about Ash being born in Ultra Space, you are free to do so. If you want to, you can give me credit in the description. If not, I really don't mind. But if you are planning to make this, no need to scrap it just because I am making it before. So that's all good. And make sure to subscribe to the channel. We are at 813 subs. It would be great if we can hit the 1000 subscriber mark before July, because I think that's where I began my channel last year. So it would be pretty good to reach 1000 subscribers in 1 year. So that's all I had to say. And without further ado, let's begin the story. What if Ash was born in Ultra Space? Part 1. It was a normal day in Ultra Megalopolis. The residents were on and about handling their daily businesses. It was a joyous occasion for our hero's family. Mirwasser, or Ash for short, had just turned 6 today, and his entire family was there. His mother Suku, elder brother Nori, and even his father Wakame, who had taken the day off from his security duties at Megalo Tower for the day to be present for his birthday. After the cake cutting, it was time for his birthday gift. Ash had a feeling that he knew what the gift was, but was still surprised regardless. It was a poipole, but of a different color scheme. The Megalopolisians and the poipole species had lived together in harmony for many years, and eventually the people were able to befriend the beasts and use them as pets, battles, or even in their daily lives. The higher ranking people in the Megalopolis, who are also known as the top 1%ers, were a part of the government, and their poipole legs were charged up with the light. A generator generated this so-called light on top of the Megalo Tower, and this light was source of all energy, power and resource for Megalopolis. These higher-ups had their farms highly protected to keep it out of the hands of the others. Nori said that this was a shiny poipole which is extremely rare, but he made sure to keep a tab on the eggs and swapped a regular one for one of the elites. Suku was angry at Nori for pulling that stunt, because that could have gotten him arrested, but he didn't care. This was the least he could do for his little brother. Ash was delighted and hugged his Pokemon affectionately, and his infectious positivity seemed to have an effect on the baby poipole as well, who returned the affection. After an eventful evening where some visitors came over to wish Ash a happy birthday, everyone went to sleep. Everything would have been normal if a certain someone had not hatched a plan that would end up turning Megalopolis on its head. Faiko, a security guard in the Megalo Tower, had been in a dilemma. The hierarchy and the economy of Megalopolis had been a pain for the workers and those who were not in the top 1% in general. The taxes were heavy, the workload was too much, and it almost seemed as if it was a rigid system which kept the poor the same and the rich even richer. Faiko was sick of this and wanted a change, a revolution. And there was only one way to shatter the system: take out the one thing running it. The plan was set weeks ago. Faiko and a union of workers, farmers, technicians assembled under the tower alongside the Nagnadels. Sure, the higher-ups had stronger Pokemon, but the workers had the numbers on their side and the element of surprise and well. And they knew the ins and outs of the lower levels of the tower, and they stormed in attacking the premises. The higher-ups were caught off guard, and Faiko's squad swarmed all the way to the top, where they blew the door to the generator open. Inside they saw a large crystal with lots of wire attached to it. From the looks of it, these wires led to every outlet of Megalopolis. Faiko and his squad started to fire at the crystal, which eventually shattered it. There was a moment of silence before they inched closer and inspected the crystal. Just then, they were blasted away by a powerful surge of psychic energy. From the rubble emerged a demented creature, which looked as if it was tortured for all eternity. With a deafening shriek, it sunk its claws into the wire and started to redirect the flow of energy. This time, instead of flowing into the outlets, it was flowing into the Pokemon itself, who the people knew as the Blinding One, Necrozma. Fico knew the energy transmitted throughout Megalopolis was somehow related to the creature, but he never expected this. So this is what the higher ups were hiding from them this entire time. Now rejuvenated, Necrozma fires off a multi-directional prismatic laser which cuts through the top of the tower, causing it to fall off. The sound of the falling debris causes the residents nearby to wake up. They were shocked and horrified to see Necrozma there, free and restored. This was particularly scary for the children, including Ash, because they heard bedtime stories about this Pokemon and how it was sealed by their mighty ancestors. But here it was, once again, wreaking havoc. Suko and Wakame tell Nori to keep Ash safe before they leave to battle. Alarms sounded off in all directions as kids were evacuated, and the residents alongside with their Nagnadels start to surround the Prism Pokemon, attacking it with Dragon Pulse and Sludge Bombs, trying to overwhelm it. But with a powerful burst of Photon Geyser, Necrozma blasted them away. It then used Gravity Attack to put the defenders down before unleashing multiple lasers, completely eviscerating the line of defense. Ash was hugging Nori, too scared to open his eyes, but he could hear the sounds of people screaming and buildings crashing. After a few hours, they walked out to see Necrozma finish off the remaining defenders. More than half of the population, people and Pokemon included, were wiped out. Ash's parents and their respective Pokemon were among the many casualties. As the survivors cradled their loved ones, Necrozma floated above them, relishing the carnage before it spreads its claws and start to absorb the light from the entire world. Everything around them started getting darker and colder. As the survivors watched, Necrozma glowed brightly before creating a portal and disappearing into it. It traveled across space and dimensions, taking over the other worlds and stealing their lights as well, growing stronger and stronger. Most of these worlds did not survive like Megalopolis did. However, this was not the last time they saw Necrozma. It would spawn in from time to time, destroying a few buildings along the way. The residents built underground shelters to hide from the Pokemon, and over time their bodies started to adapt to the cold climate and living in the dark. But this was not living, this was merely surviving and counting the days, living in constant fear and uncertainty. Something needed to be done. Several years after the attack. Over the years, the survivors were able to survive off of some energy that was hidden for calamities like this. Now with rich, poor, worker and royals, and everyone in between, all of them on the same boat, this energy was accessible to everyone, but it was not enough to sustain them for long. They needed to either recapture Necrozma or steal its light for long enough to open a wormhole similar to the Prism Pokemon does, so they could escape and resettle in some other world. For this purpose, they formed the Ultra Recon Squad, headed by none other than Fico himself. Although it was fragile, he was able to create some sort of a unity amongst the different classes of people, bringing them under the common cause of survival of their species. They had battled Necrozma many times, but every time they came up short, and they depleted their manpower and resources every time they did. This was their last shot at victory. Ash and his Poipole were sitting inside a cave. Years of living in a war-infested lifestyle had its effect on the duo. They were no longer the high-spirited, happy-go-lucky type. They saw countless people and Pokemon perish right in front of them, and this definitely changed their psyche. Just a few months ago, Ash was inducted into the Ultra Recon Squad. This was supposed to be his first and hopefully his very last mission. Nori walked in, telling Ash it was time, and he nodded. The squad was divided into 4 parts. Each of them were to attack Necrozma differently. Squad 1, which was Ash's squad, was largely comprised of Poipoles, and were supposed to shower the Prism Pokemon with Toxic to poison and slow it down. Squad 2 had relatively weaker Nagnadels and Poipoles who would use Venoshock to further poison the Pokemon and bring it down even more. Squad 3 was led by Nori, and it had physical attackers who would use bug attacks like X-Scissor and Fell Stinger on the Pokemon with rapid flurries and successions. And the final squad was led by Fico himself. His squad would be the ones in charge of trapping the Pokemon using the wires to sap its energy once it had been weakened. His squad mostly comprised of the elites. Although he was wary of them, he still believed in the peace that he had maintained so far. They put whatever light energy they had left as a bait for the blinding one as they hid in all four directions. They were literally putting all their eggs in the same basket. This was all or nothing, and soon enough, a rift opened in the sky, and Necrozma descended upon the horizon. It inched closer and closer to the bait before sinking its claws and starting to absorb the light. Just then it was hit by a stinging sensation as purple toxic bubbles started to burst around it. The attack had begun. Ash's squad had fired the first shot. Before it could react, Necrozma was bombarded with Venoshock attacks, which heightened the poison, causing it to shriek in pain. The Prism Pokemon ascended once again and used a Photon Geyser which put the second squad out of commission instantly. It then turned its attention towards Ash and the Poipuls, but it was blitzed down by a flurry of bug attacks by Nori's squad, which slammed it back to the ground. Multiple Dragon Pulses Sludge Bomb caused a lot of damage to Necrozma before it felt a familiar sensation. The wires were being reattached to its body. It was happening all over again. Soon the energy was used by the technicians to fuel their machines, which were further used to open up wormholes. It was happening. They were going to escape. But then the former higher-ups, who still had some amount of resentment towards FICO and the others, and their own reservations of being privileged, started to abandon their posts and tried to escape prematurely. FICO yelled at them to stop, but it was too late. Necrozma unleashed a powerful burst of energy which blasted them away. It then started to absorb a lot of the energy, causing the wormholes to disappear, except for two adjacent ones, and everyone started running towards it. But this left them wide open for Necrozma's attacks, which sniped most of them down. Some of them were lucky to escape through one of them, but Necrozma blocked the other one. Nori held Ash as they were just about to enter the portal before it disappeared. Now there was only one left, which was guarded by the blinding one. Nori told Ash to run while he distracted Necrozma. Ash protested but finally obliged when Nori told him that he was their last hope. With that, he alongside his Nagnadels charged at Necrozma with a Dragon Rush attack. Necrozma was a lot weakened due to the poison, so it was enough to hold him off for a few seconds. But this was enough for Ash to escape as well. As he fell into the wormhole, he hugged his Poipole tight before they were wrapped into something and lost all consciousness. When they woke up, they were greeted by an odd-looking boy and a green owl-like creature. Ash was extremely confused and startled as to what had happened. As he stood awake, he felt a burning sensation and looked at the mirror in the room. His face had some minor burns, but that was the least of his worries. His Poipole was nowhere in sight. He started frantically asking the boy where his partner was, and the boy told him to calm down, saying it was resting downstairs. Then dawned on Ash as he remembered what had happened. He fell to his knees and sobbed. The boy was confused as to why he was crying and tried to confront him. He introduced himself as Elio and said whatever Ash is going through right now, it's going to be alright. Hearing this, Ash somewhat came to his senses. He managed to escape, and that's a good thing. Now he can train and hopefully reunite with the other survivors. But right now he wanted to check on his Poipole, and when Elio took him downstairs, he saw Poipole happily playing with a yellow mouse-like creature in a small pool of water, with a lady standing by, who introduces herself as Elio's mother, Letty. She gives Ash a sunscreen and tells him that he sure has a sensitive skin because when they found him, he had severe sunburns on his face. Ash thanks her and then looks outside the windows. Yes, the light seemed really warm and bright, and even the radiation from this far away was making his skin itch a bit. Finally, after settling down, Ash tells them why he looks so different and where he's from and how he got here. The family is extremely saddened to hear this, and Elio says this is even more of a reason for him to get stronger, not only to become the first champion of Alola, but to protect his world and help Ash return to his home as well. Ash smiles a bit upon hearing him. This reminded him of his younger self. This outburst of positive energy reminded him how he used to be. But it's not too late for him. He can get stronger here and hopefully save his people. He promises to himself that he's not going to let Nori's sacrifice go in vain. Unbeknownst to our hero, another member of the Ultra Recon squad had made his way into this world, and he is greeted by a certain blonde lady. And guys, that's where I'll be ending this part. Thank you for watching. Sorry if it was a bit shorter. This was supposed to be like a backstory or just a small little introductory part, just to get you guys used to this story, because I don't think anyone has done this before, so it's a bit different. So now you guys know the backstory, the timeline, and the characters somewhat. And don't worry about it, I will release the next part sooner. I just wasn't able to because I was a bit preoccupied with my studies, but don't worry, I will release the next part sooner. And let's get this to about 20 likes in the next 12 hours or something. So thank you for watching guys, stay safe and God bless.